Hey, we're back for part 2 of this interview with Andrew Jones. If you didn't see part 1, check it out right now. He is live from Sinai. I can't believe it. It's so cool. We talk all about Noah's Ark and the tours that he's doing. In fact, if you want to check any of those out, I want to make sure you know up front, go to discoveredsinai.com and you can actually tour these places for yourself with Andrew. He's a super cool dude, modern day Indiana Jones. We're going to talk to him in just a moment here, again, in part 2 of our interview, talking right now about the Exodus and the importance of Bible stories. So I'm going to jump into it right now. Here we go. All right, so Andrew, here we are, buddy. Yeah, yes. Hello. We got you live in the studio via Skype. So excited that you're here joining us again. I just can't get over that you're live from Sinai. I just think it's so cool. Tell us a little bit about, like, specifically where you are on the route there, maybe kind of what's in the background. I think I saw a car drive past a minute ago, so I know you're not alone.
Yeah, no, I'm not in Arizona. I'm in Saudi Arabia. I don't have any way to prove it. Maybe I could show you the Arabic Saudi energy drinks.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah.
But
you didn't order that on Amazon. I promise.
No, I'm on the route. There's a couple routes that people have proposed going from the Nuweiba crossing site to Jebel Makla, which we believe is the real Mount Sinai here in Saudi Arabia. It's part of the Jebel Allah's mountain range. And so I'm on the northern route. This is the route that goes from the giant split rock around the northern side to the east side of the mountain range.
If somebody wants to book these tours and they want to go see this in person, is this safe? Is it? I mean, we've seen all kinds of stuff. At least I did. I didn't even know it was possible to go to visit these sites.
Yeah, so they started opening tourist visas back in September 2019. And then about 5 months later, the pandemic hit, so they closed the borders. They reopened last year in August. And so thousands, tens of thousands of tourists have been into Saudi Arabia. There's many things to see, not just the real Mount Sinai. And so no one has had any issues. And in fact, I started coming here in 2016 before the tourist visas, and we were kind of sneaking around because we were not allowed to go to Mount Sinai at that time. So if you went there, you had to go undercover, basically. And we climbed the mountain a number of times, and we had to hide from the I hate to say it, the police and those, the Bedouin police. And we got kicked out of sites before. We tried to go to the Split Rock, and twice we got kicked out by the locals, saying you're not allowed to go here. It's forbidden.
Well, what do you do if somebody wants that as part of their experience, their tour experience?
Ron had that as his first experience. When Ron went here with his sons, they were jailed.
Makes it feel more authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, we could recreate the Ron White experience.
Have to recreate it. You have to hire some people to, hold you up with guns or something.
Yeah, on one of my tours,
the authentic Sinai.
And people thought I had paid them out at just the right time. I was like, no, I drive around. I know where the camels are because I've been there so many times. And so, yeah, we could do that. We could hire some actors who come out.
It is more comforting to think of them being actors, I will admit. So,
and they're so welcoming and hospitable. Yeah. They always, when I've been here, 25 plus times now, driving on the ground, walking, mainly driving 25,000 miles plus, just all over. I keep track of my GPS most of the time, and so I have all these routes.
You're talking to me on your
alert you see, like everywhere I've been. And I've never had anyone threaten me or like I felt unsafe. They always invite you to their tents for coffee or tea or a meal. And sometimes they say, hey, sleep here. And so you say, no, I have to go. So a couple times I slept out there in their tents. And we've had some interesting food. They've tried to serve us like camel. And
Holy cow. Holy cow. What says something that you're Skyping with us from the location there. So I would say check it out. I mean, I'm doing it. I'm going. I'm all in. I can't wait. We got the tour booked with Andrew, and I'm going to take lots of good video and pictures and everything. I'm looking forward to climbing the summit, going up to the place where Israel would die if they, or they thought they would die. So it's incredible. I'm going to show just some pictures here of, of Sinai. We're looking at, the Red Sea. This is Nueva and the just adjacent to that, of course, across the Red Sea.
Yeah, in
where
fact, you're going on the Egyptian part of the tour too,
okay.
not just the Sinai tour. So you'll see that part of the Exodus route where the Israelites got caught at the Red Sea.
Yeah, and it's basically a natural land bridge. This is one of the interesting places about this location is that there's actually a place where they could have crossed.
I call it a walkable path. Land bridge is a very specific term.
Yeah.
And so you'll get critics attacking you. There's no land bridge there. Well, it's a walkable path.
Okay, yeah.
If you move the water out, you can walk it, and it's not like cliffs underwater where you have to rappel down. So, yeah. Yeah,
that's incredible. So, and then, you see, too, basically, I don't know if it's Wadi Watir, there's like basically a path where they're hemmed in by mountains, and
that's
this
on
is
the Egyptian side. Yeah, that's why they complained to Moses. Why did you bring us out here in the wilderness to die? They had no way to escape.
And so that's that's one of the amazing things to me is some of the different theories that people have proposed for the Exodus being small in scale, and basically, I mean, it kind of creates unbelief, I think, in the whole story in general, which again gets to our point in this episode, and that's talking about the importance of Bible stories. But seeing these massive mountains and how they were hemmed in, and it really makes it feel like the 1956 Ten Commandments movie with Charlton Heston, where you see, which ironically now when I look back at that, I go, wow, that really seems like it was more accurate than some of the other depictions I've seen in in Hollywood. But just the scale of it, that was just what I wanted to say. We're also looking at a picture of Elam, I believe, where you see there's basically an oasis in the middle of the wilderness.
Yeah, so Moses, after the Red Sea crossing, and when he's in the land of Midian, taking the Israelites through this area, he's taking them to different oases where they can get the water. Water was very important. It was not until the Rephidim location where they encamped, where he hit, he struck the rock and it split open. That's where they had no water. So everywhere else where they were encamping, they had a water source. So Rephidim was the first time they started complaining for lack of water. And so, so you have in the land of Midian, which is northwest Saudi Arabia, you have different oases that are very important. And you find archaeological remains there from different time periods because people obviously would want to live near the water source.
Yeah. In fact, I think one of the things that we found too is Jethros Caves.
Yeah, that's what it's named on the tour guides. And, even back to the Middle Ages during the Islamic period, they would call it the tombs of Shuaib. He was the prophet that they called Jethro in the Quran. And so you have these tombs there. Now, they are Nabatean style, the facades of them. So this is like the tombs you'll see at Petra and in Median Salah, which is the Petra down here in Saudi Arabia. So the Nabateans were from the time of Christ. They were like desert traders. They lived out here. But it's possible that they reused the tombs and these caves
that were there.
The Midianites lived in. And so that's in the area of Al-Bada, which is the central location for the land of Midian. And it's kind of like, you could say not the capital or the headquarters of the Midianites. And it said that Jethro was the high priest of Midian, or the priest of Midian. And so, and the tradition has it, you talk to the locals even today, and back in even the Middle Ages, that Jethro lived in this area of Al-Bada, the modern name we call it. And then back in the time of Christ, that city there was called Median. It basically a similar, the Greek version of the Midian name. So even during the time of Christ, they believe that Midian was around Al-Bada, which is where we take you on tours. You can see the well of Moses, the traditional well there, these tombs or caves of Jethro. So it's a very important site.
Yeah, and these are all places that we'll see on the tour. And
that's correct.
And you mentioned Midian too. So this is one of the important things I think for people to understand is that in the Bible it says that Mount Sinai was in Midian. And when you actually do look at the ancient documents, that's where you are. You're in Midian right now. The traditional site of Mount Sinai, more in the Sinai Peninsula, is not where Midian is.
Yeah, it makes zero sense to put Sinai way in the southern Sinai Peninsula. On my ancient Egypt/Exodus tour, which you're going on, we do go to the traditional site of Mount Sinai, so you can compare. Say, hey, I've been to both. And you'll see the site is way out in the middle of nowhere in these mountainous area. And so if Moses is living in Midian, because it said he fled Pharaoh, and he was fleeing for his life after he had killed the Egyptian, he fled to Midian. He lived among Jethro's family, and he married Jethro's daughter. For 40 years, he took care of Jethro's sheep. And then in the biblical account, the first time you hear or you read about Mount Sinai, the name itself, it says the mountain of God, is when Moses sees the burning bush on the mountain, and he's taken Jethro's sheep to the backside of the desert. And so if you know that Midian is in northwest Saudi Arabia, and you look at a map and see where the traditional Mount Sinai is, how does Moses take those sheep all the way around the Gulf of Aqaba? The Red Sea split for Moses and the sheep. He had to go all the way around, and he had to get to this traditional Sinai for no reason.
Yeah.
Why is he on this long migration? He has plenty of Oasis here in Midian. He has.
It's taking him 6 months to get there.
Yeah. Is that from Bedouin Sinai? You can see it. It's a migration they do based on seasons. The seasonal migration from the valleys to the mountains depends on the temperature. So when it gets hotter, they go down into the valleys. When it's cooler, they're up in the mountains, or vice versa. And so, anyways, you have Moses doing this when in the springtime, he's taking the sheep up into the mountains, and this is where he sees the burning bush. He's not going on a long trip and hijacking and stealing Jethro's sheep to go all the way over to Sinai Peninsula, which is outside of Midian.
Jethro would have sent the search party after him, My son-in-law, my new son-in-law stole my sheep. Haven't seen him for 6 months. He's gone.
Yeah, if they can survive the sheep,
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. If you're interested, I don't know if Andrew, if you've ever met Joel Richardson, he put a pretty good academic series together on Sinai, and where he covers a lot of these issues at length.
Yeah, he does an amazing job on it. And right before his first trip here, and I think it was 2018, he called me up. Someone shared my number, and he wanted all these tips and where to go where, because he knew I'd been there many times. And then I met him on site out here in 2019. He invited me to join his media crew in October, right after they did their first official tour. Which was mentioned in Fox News and everything. And so this is, a month after Saudi Arabia opened for tourist visas, he brought his group in, and then he flew me in, and I met with his team and was here for about a week with them.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. So, some of the other neat things, if you do go on this tour, is you'll see all the stuff that we mentioned. You will also climb the summit of Mount Sinai, and you can actually see the peak. You can see the blackened peak. Man, tell us a little bit about that. I know you were there. This is your picture, I think.
Yeah. Well, most of my trips I had photographers with me taking the media for us, but it's probably one of Nathan's photos if you're showing the one I'm thinking you're showing. But anyways, it's about a day's hike up and down. For the pace I do. Now, you can go up to the halfway up where there's like a plateau area. We believe that the 70 elders from the Exodus account, you have Moses, Aaron, Joshua, and the 70 elders eating with God on Mount Sinai. And so halfway up the mountain, about a 2-hour hike, you have this area that's very flat, very nice, cool temperatures there. There's water, greenery. And so Moses, it talks about him going up and down the mountain to talk to God when they first get to Mount Sinai. And so this is a perfect example of how it fits the biblical account, this mountain, because you see these different geographical features. Now, the mountain's very unique because you do see this blackened rock from the base, and it covers, that top of not just that mountain, but the one beside it to the south. And so that rock, we do know it's basalt, but it is makes a very spectacular picture. And when you get to the top, you're standing in that basalt volcanic rock where the presence of God was. It says, the fiery presence came down and was on the mountaintop, and that's where he spoke the 10 Commandments out of there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a special experience. I love, when I climb up the mountain, I always say, why am I doing this? It's kind of a joke now. And then every tour group.
You're still alive. You survived it, so we know we can too.
Yeah, and then on the way down, I say, never again. And then I repeat that every year.
Well, you have these interesting, accounts in the Bible of, I guess, a prophet, Elijah, and who knows how many other ones, and Paul going. It seems to Sinai, because he says, I went to Arabia, and then he mentions also later in his letter to the Galatians where he says he traveled to Arabia first. Probably understanding too why he would have done that, because now Christ has changed his life, rocked his world literally, where he was just an adamant, Jewish law following, person, and then he meets Christ, and it just shakes up his whole paradigm. So he's almost like he's going back, kind of like Elijah was, back to back to Sinai, to where it started. Interestingly, when Elijah goes there, he hears the voice of God saying, "Why are you here?" Almost like
God said, I
we're
didn't tell you to go down.
yeah, we're going back. We're going
back.
So you didn't hear anybody speak to you. Why are you here when you went up to the top of the mountain?
Yeah, hopefully not when you're climbing up there. Otherwise, turn around and start heading back down the mountain.
Yeah.
But, Paul, he's the one who also said Sinai is in Arabia in Galatians 4:25, I believe.
Yeah.
And so when you have him specifically say that,
yeah.
Now you have debates about where this Arabia was for his lifetime, the Roman period. Did it include the Sinai Peninsula? Well, no matter what, we do know 100% it does include northwest Saudi Arabia, where Jebel Makla and Jebel Alaz is. So this Arabia that he talks about definitely includes the area we're in right now.
And it was said to be the largest mountain, I think, in the ancients. It was said to be the largest mountain in Midian.
Josephus, they talk. These are historians back around the time of Christ. They do mention that it was this mountain range or the biggest mountain in the area, and that's what you have. You have this Jebel Alaz peak, and then you have these sister peaks going down south to where we're at, to Jebel Makla, and everything fits where you have the plain where the Israelites would have encamped, coming right up to the base of this mountain. And so when Moses and the Israelites come out of their tents from where they're encamped, and you'll see this in person, where they can walk from the tents to the base of the mountain. And then right there, Moses can go up and down the mountain a couple times. Everything has to work perfectly for this to be Mount Sinai. And so the geographical evidence is spot on.
Yeah. And you've also got this other stuff. I mean, around the mountain, you've got this Proto-Hebrew writing everywhere, the soles of the feet marked, which is God said, everywhere the soles of your feet go. There's Moses' altar. And pillars, these 12 pillars, which are some interesting things as well.
When we were there in 2016, our very first trip, it's kind of a long story, but I'll shorten it. We were, again, sneaking around. There's no tourist visas. And so one of our guys does not come back. We had 4 who stayed longer with us. And the one guy, a retired Air Force guy, he's usually on time, but he goes off on his own, doesn't return to the car. We're all there waiting, so we can't find him. We go searching for him, and finally, I walked down into this area where the Saudis had put the fence around Mount Sinai that's now broken down. But right near there, I find these baby goats that were abandoned by their mothers.
Holy cow!
So I pick up the goats, and that's when our friend finally shows up. But because we were looking for him, we found the baby goats. We take it to the SUV. Like, what do we do with these 2 little goats that were just born? They're very hungry. They're making a lot of noise. And so we said, let's go take it to the locals. And we go to the nearby, there's a gas station now at the base of Mount Sinai. We go to the nearby gas station.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Moses' gas station. We meet a whole bunch of locals who are there because of the summer heat. They're from Tabuk, the nearby city. They come up to the mountains to kind of relax, and it's a higher elevation, so it's cooler temperatures. And they said, hey, do you know that this is, they call it Jebel Musa, the mountain of Moses.
Okay.
We'll show it to you. And we played dumb. We had just climbed the day before to the summit, and that morning we're sneaking around the base of the altar of Moses. We didn't say anything. We're like, oh, really? This is Jebel Musa? So we end up going with this guy. They take us through the fence, out in the open.
Holy cow.
We're walking all the way to the altar of Moses, like a 20-minute walk from the gas station, or 10-minute, whatever. And the guy starts explaining to us, one of the guys who spoke broken English, he said that these, what we call animal corrals, this narrow stone structure there that's like an L shape.
Yeah.
He said the animals would come down this way, they'd turn right to the on the other end of the L shape. The animals were killed here, and this was the altar. And this is exactly the area where the Saudi archaeologists, in I believe it was the mid-1990s when they finally excavated some of that area, they found layers of ash right there at that one spot where this other local is just randomly telling us that this is Mount Sinai, the mountain of Moses, and he's explaining the whole process of how the animals are sacrificed to us. And I'm videoing this. They had no problem telling this, but it's just amazing. Kind of like was here in 1985, his second trip. The Lord David Fazold, Hina Jebel Musa. Here's the mountain of Moses. Now, why would a local out of the middle of nowhere here in northwest Saudi Arabia want to tell someone that this is Mount Sinai, obviously they had a tradition that was passed down because other you have the traditional Mount Sinai across the Gulf of Aqaba in Egypt. And so, everything to geography, to historical documents point that to this area being the area where Mount Sinai is to be located.
Yeah, and then you've got, of course, the incredible split rock. I mean, it's just words can't describe this. This structure, this place.
No, that was the most amazing thing I saw on my first trip. On that first trip, we had many miracles besides meeting these locals and having them explain everything to us, but also climbing to the top of the mountain. But the most spectacular thing was seeing the split rock, and it's bigger in person than you can imagine, and it's on this hilltop too. So, to me, that's a very special location, and I've camped there a couple times overnight. I love getting my drone.
Wow.
Excuse me. I love getting my drone out there and just flying it around the rock.
Yeah,
it's amazing there.
Yeah, we've got some. There's some great video too that he has. You can look it up on YouTube and on his website at the website Discovered Media, right? Discoveredmedia.com.
No, discoveredsinai.com.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Discovered Media is, I think, is your
that's right.
YouTube channel.
I own the domain names, but now I need to route people to Discovered Sinai since you said that. So people are going to type it in, and they're going to go nowhere. Discovered Sinai.
But check that out. I mean, you can do this. You can go see all of these places. I just think it's one of the most amazing things, man. I can't wait to be a part of this myself. But what do you think? See, this brings up to me this topic of Bible stories because I really wanted to do this series because I wanted people to see that there is evidence for these Bible stories. I went all the way through seminary, got a doctoral degree, did all this stuff. And I went to a conservative seminary, but there's a lot of seminaries out there that will teach you things. There's a lot of authors that say there's no evidence for the Exodus. There's no evidence for whatever, for Moses, for people having writing at the time of Moses and all this stuff, which there is. You just don't know about it. But, what does this kind of stuff say to the importance of Bible stories being true, Andrew? Because I know, obviously, this is important for you. It has a lot of significance for you. You mentioned, camping out in a tent at the Split Rock there, climbing to the top of Mount Sinai and having, thoughts of, wow, this is like where God and the elders of Israel met and Moses. And, in a day and age where people can look at, especially some of these ancient Bible stories, not necessarily Christ. I mean, a lot of Christians will even say, I believe in Jesus, but do we really know what happened? What is this location? What do some of these finds? What do they say to the importance of Bible stories being true?
Well, by faith, we believe that these things happened. There's an aspect of where you have people who need more physical proof these days, I think, than just believing by faith. So we can call them the doubting Thomases. He heard that Jesus was resurrected, but for himself, he needed to see the actual proof. And Christ showed it to him. So I don't think there's anything wrong. Some people will say, well, we believe everything happened by faith, so we don't need to go find the physical proof for these biblical events. Well, since we know that these stories are true, we believe they're true, using science like archaeology, which looks at the cultural remains of these ancient civilizations and events and places mentioned in the Bible, there should be evidence there, since unless the stories are made up. So I believe that there's evidence from the Midianites living in this area, and the biblical account says that's where the burning bush was, and that's where Jethro lived. And so just using that, it just adds more. I don't know. As a believer for myself, it makes it more special to be able to be at a place where you realize that these events happened. Yeah. And then for those who are honestly searching for truth and need that extra physical evidence, and they need to see the real Mount Sinai themselves or watch a video about it, then I think God has provided that extra physical proof for them. Yeah. There are people out there, whether they're non-Christians or other religions, that need to see that these events mentioned in the Bible did happen. And so that's why I think it's really important for them. It might not be important for you or me who already believe by faith that the Red Sea crossing happened, but for those who need to see the exact spot.
Yeah.
To believe in the story, they might need that.
I would say it's important for me, because it's a faith builder. I mean, it's like, it is one thing to be a Christian and to accept things by faith, and we do that. But when you're told by other people who say that they're people of faith that some of this stuff is myth, that's a challenging hurdle. And I think not only to see it, but for me, the amazing thing is, and not even having seen it in person yet, but just seeing pictures and all this stuff, like the scale of it is just it's amazing. It's unbelievable. It really adds this whole level of not just credibility to the Bible stories, this underwater walking path that you have going across the Red Sea, and all these things fit the way the Bible says that they fit. Some people don't see them because they don't want to see them. They don't want to see the truth of it. The evidence is right there. We talked about this with Noah's Ark and the sedimentary rock layers. Some people see millions of years. Some people see a global flood. I mean, looking at the exact same evidence. But from the perspective of a believer, I mean, it's incredible. The scale of it, it makes me realize how big God is. That God did this. He ripped the sea apart to save his people. And you see evidence of that, and it's just such a huge faith builder, even from somebody who does believe.
You see the giant split rock and realize the Bible says 600,000 men alone left Egypt, to include the women and children. Then they said a mixed multitude, and then they had their flocks and herds. It was quite a group that came out there. So you see these Renaissance paintings that everyone lined up with a teacup, getting water out of a drill, like a little spring. It doesn't make sense. But when you believe is the real site, and they're like, wow. In the Psalms it says, David wrote that rivers of water came out of the rocks, and he split the rocks for them in the wilderness. And you see a giant split rock and evidence of erosion, and you can the pictures and the stories come alive.
They do, yeah.
You're saying it's builder. It's something that you can physically go and see. Now, I don't think that everyone has to spend money to go over here to. Otherwise, that's not why I'm trying to promote like tours to make money. But I do believe that you can watch on YouTube, you can watch on on the internet, and buy books about this. You can see these actual sites in pictures or for yourself that the stories are real. And I still don't understand why there are Christians and you know them that want to say that the Red Sea happened in a marshy lake.
Yeah, the Reed Sea, right?
Yeah, the Reed Sea, and there's no trapped here. The mountains, no Josephus,
like they could just walk across it without it being parted.
They walk around it. Just like, why would this be? That's why people don't believe it, because you took the stories that were like massive events, massive miracles, and you made it to this puny little miracle.
It gives you a heart for the Israelites. Yeah, I mean, when I see these stories and I see the mountains and I see the Red Sea, what it makes me realize is that this had to be terrifying for the Israelites. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine being stuck, hemmed in by cliffs and mountains, impassable? Here comes Pharaoh's army, and there's no way you're going to be slaughtered and dead. You're going to be wiped out, and then all of a sudden God rips open the sea, he makes a way through, and he smites your enemies. I mean, and it's also a picture for us. I mean, it's a literal story that happened, but it's a picture for us as believers and people who have been put into Christ, about what he does for us, what he did for us. He made a way for us to know him, and he makes a way for us in the middle of all of our battles today. I'm here in Youngstown, Ohio, like, he makes a way for me in this culture to share his gospel with other people, and around the world, Paul, and he does the same thing for others.
Paul mentions that too. Was it 1 Corinthians 10, I think, where he says that these were examples, like these events as examples for us. So we do not do what they did, with the Israelites in the wilderness. And I've been out here walking. Like one time we went in that Elam Oasis Canyon. We hiked 3.5 miles one way without water because we kept looking at the Google Maps thinking, oh, we'll get to that next oasis. We kept walking. And we left our water in the SUVs by the coast. By the time we did the round trip, 7 miles in the hot end of April sun. I can understand why they complain. Sometimes you wonder, like, God has given them water, given them manna. He's opening the sea for them. He has a cloud over them, keeping them shaded from the sun. Why are they complaining? But then when you're out here, you realize there's no trees around.
And they had to be terrified at all these things they saw happen. I mean, I can't even, it gives you a heart for Israel. And honestly, I think it gives us a much clearer perspective on the things we do. Because we do the same things with God all the time, and
He's done so much for us.
Yeah.
Yet it's easy for us to doubt or complain.
Yeah. Amen. I don't know if, are you still there? I don't know if we just lost your audio. Okay, good. I'm just checking. It went quiet for a second there, but yeah, you know what, Andrew, that about wraps it up, man. We did a tremendous, I think, a couple of interviews here with you and spent some good time together. Really appreciate you. I mean, is there just anything kind of in closing that encapsulates this whole Sinai experience? Why, what would you want to say to people about Sinai, about maybe what they should do with this information? Book a tour. Share it with other people. I mean, share Christ with other people. I don't know. What would kind of be your closing thought, your takeaway, your application step?
Well, back to what Paul was talking about, once you realize how God, realize that he can save you. You see the mountains surrounding you, the Red Sea in front of you, God will provide a way. You have to make that first step. Moses told them to be silent. They were complaining to him, why did you bring us out here in the wilderness to die? And he said, be silent. Today you'll see the salvation of the Lord. And then even he needed to have that faith building experience. Strike the water, or use the staff that I gave you. And I think that's the big thing, that whether you come out here on a tour through my tours or for Ryan Moreau's or someone else's, that's great to come out here. But I don't think everyone needs to come out here and physically see it. You can watch the stuff online and you can present it to your friends. I was so excited when I first learned about this proof of the Bible from, Ron Wyatt, looking at the biblical evidence for Noah's Ark, the archaeology for the Exodus route in Mount Sinai, that I started, sharing it. And now I have a YouTube channel where I make videos to share with people. And I think everyone can do their part in shepherds who need that physical evidence that the Bible is real.
Yeah. And I think the bottom line is we want people to come to know Christ. to know he was the fulfillment of all of these stories, of all of these things that we read about, the flood and the Exodus, and it all points to him. And that's what this ministry, Gospel Ministries, is all about. But I mean, I think that's kind of our end game. We want people to know Jesus. So, Andrew, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you. And I guess we're just gonna wrap it up there. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I'm super excited to join you out there. I think it's going to be so cool, and can't wait to see this stuff in person. But yeah. Thanks so much, man. And if you are watching this and you haven't done so, go check out discoveredsinai.com. That's the correct one this time. discoveredsinai.com. You can also look up videos with Andrew on YouTube. Just absolutely incredible. And we're praying for you that, honestly, that God really uses this to bless you in a special way. We know that it has us. And Thanks again, Andrew. God bless you, man. And folks, we will see you next time.